What is up, guys? Welcome back to the Popcast, the podcast where we talk about everything going on in pop culture, from Hollywood's latest hits to the sweet hidden indie gems and everything in between. I'm your host, Micah.
I'm your host, Ethan. Very happy to be back.
All right, so this is actually the Pop Review, Ethan, and this is shorter episodes, but just as good of content. What are we actually talking about today?
So we're talking about the voyage of the Demeter. Demeter. I don't know how to say the actual ship name, but
I like saying it like Demeter, like a little bit of a accent to it. Demeter. Yeah,
I like it.
Exactly. Everybody really wants to see just the whitest guy you know trying to say an accent like Demeter, and then they're like, oh yeah, he's a film kid or just weird in general. But yeah, so we did see that movie. We actually saw a lot. I saw a lot of movies this summer. Not really like all in theater, like just watching movies in general. What was the highlight movie? Like, what was the movie you saw this summer where you're like, dude, that was fire?
Probably I've got two. So I got Spider-Man into the Across the Spider-Verse, and then Oppenheimer. I know you haven't seen Oppenheimer yet, but
I have not.
It is movie of the year,
dude. 3 hours.
3 hours. We might be seeing it tonight.
Maybe.
Hopefully.
If we get out, so we're going to an escape room tonight. So if we get out of the escape, if we are smart enough, if we're not like complete idiots, and we can escape in the right amount of time, then we'll go see Oppenheimer. It all depends on our IQ. That's basically. So, which I've never been good at escape rooms. I'm basically just sitting in there, just like at that point, screaming at my family, like, guys, what are we doing here? And the person who's like helping us is feeling bad for us and just giving us all the answers.
Yep.
It's pretty much how it goes for me 90% of the time.
All right, so the Last Voyage of the Demeter.
Yeah.
Demeter.
It's the Last Voyage of the Demeter. So this is a movie that, like, we saw the trailer for it. I can't remember. I think it was when we saw Beau is Afraid, which was a terrible movie.
That was an awful movie.
But we saw that movie, and this trailer came out, and we both kind of looked at each other, and we were like, that looks sick.
The trailer looked really good.
Yeah, it looked awesome. We were like, okay, it looks like a horror movie on a ship, which is just a great combination of two amazing things.
Yeah.
And so it like was in the back of our mind, but I completely forgot about it.
I completely forgot it was a movie until like I saw the showings on like the website for the movie theater.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, Micah, this movie's out. We should go see it.
Yeah. And then you flew back to pick me up from Arkansas because I've been in Arkansas for the past few months. And then we watched it on our way back from Arkansas.
After a 10-hour drive.
It was like 12 a.m. in the morning. And then we went and saw this movie or something like that, right?
It was like 11. We saw this movie. We got back to the hotel at like 1 and then had to leave.
Talked about it for like an hour.
And then went to bed at like 2 and then had to leave at like 7:30, 8 a.m.
Dude, it was
and then drive for another 10 hours.
ADHD filled car. Just the weirdest like back and forth stuff going on. Oh man. But yeah, so if you're looking for a friend, find a friend will fly halfway across the country and drive 20 something hours with you. That's some good stuff. But yeah, we stopped and we saw this movie. And we both kind of came to the same consensus on what we thought about it. But then I sat and thought about it longer, and I was like, I don't know if I like how I feel like with you, but I think you kind of feel a little bit differently about the movie than me. So what are your thoughts?
I think it was an okay movie. I think they used the same like scenes over and over again, and it's the exact same like outcome every single time, and I got very bored of that very quick.
Yeah.
But I was very like I was kind of on edge the entire time just because I didn't know what was going to happen next. Because I'm like, every time they go up onto like the top of the ship where Dracula's going to go kill them.
Yeah.
I'm like, there's no way this happens again. And every single time it happens again, I'm like, oh,
yeah,
that's crazy. And then the next time I'm like, there's no way. And then it happens again. And I'm like, they're just playing mind games with me, bro.
I know. Yeah, you're kind of like, you expect it, but then it always is unexpected.
Yeah.
But, okay, wait, before let's just lay out the plot of this movie because maybe you have no idea what the Voyage of the Demeter is. Yeah, so basically what this movie is there's this ship, and there was a Dracula book written. Oh, man, who wrote that book? Do you want to look that up real quick? Who wrote? So this Dracula book was written, and there was one chapter in this book, like one little segment of this book that talked about the Voyage of the Demeter, and this is how Dracula got to London in the book. And so this story of that one voyage, they're like, oh, let's make that into a movie. So they took that and they made it into a movie. And it's actually like, you would think that a short chapter extended into a long movie would feel like stretched out. You would feel exhausted. You'd feel like this idea is like being dragged on. I didn't feel that way. But basically, there's this guy who's a doctor, and they're trying to find crewmen for this ship so that they can make it to London, and they're putting all this shipment crates onto the boat, all of them filled with like dirt and with weird dragon symbols on it. So basically the only things I brought to college, pretty much. And so they were like putting this shipment all in there, and this one guy was a doctor, and they're like, all right, we need crew. You're not going to come on the boat because you're a doctor, and we need muscly men. We don't need you. We need brutality. We don't need brain power. And he was like, all right, bet. But then he saves the captain's nephew or grandson. I think it was his grandson.
I think it was his grandson.
He saved the grandson, and then they're like, oh, maybe he is not a doctor. Maybe he's secretly a superhero, and we do want him on this ship. Right?
Well, I just think they were like, oh, he saved my grandson. I think we should let him on the ship because he needs to get back to London or whatever.
Facts. That's probably more
I don't
likely.
think he was a superhero.
I don't know, dude. That jump move, though, kind of like friggin' ninja reflexes there. I was like, dang, I'd want him on my ship, you know? Anybody that can just, like, pounce like that? Dude.
Sure.
I feel like it would come into handy in a lot of situations on that ship, is all I'm saying.
I mean, he did come in handy a bunch on the ship. He saved, or he tried to save a lot of people.
He did
he did not do a great job.
He did a terrible job if that was his whole goal, to save everybody, because that did not pan out. But he gets on the ship sails off, and then Dracula's on one of the crates. Oh no, right? So that happens. Dracula gets out, and then he's weak though, and Dracula's like weak. Oh, Bram Stoker. Bram Stoker's the guy who wrote the book. So there you go. That's information.
And I was looking. He has also written a lot more of. I was confused by his computer. Just a lot more like horror film or like horror books, stuff like that, like short stories. But, which, I mean, it was just a short story turned into a movie.
Yeah, but it was like this. Like, he didn't write The Voyage of the Demeter as a book. It was like one.
It was one
chapter
in the Dracula
novel.
Yep.
Yeah. So, they go on this boat. Dracula's on this boat, and then Dracula's weak, and so in order to get to full Dracula strength, he has to kill a bunch of people on the ship, and he does it at night because Dracula can't get in the sun. And so the whole boat and crew is like, "What's going on? People are dying. What do we got to do?" And it's them coming to the revelation that, oh, there's a monster on the ship, and we are probably not going to survive. And so it's them coming up with ideas of how to defeat Dracula, having no idea who Dracula is, except for this one girl that has like some knowledge of him.
It took forever for them to come to that like conclusion that there was a monster on board. Like 8 people had died at that point, and they're like, there might be something going on.
Something might be fishy here.
Where does everyone go?
Yeah, no, but okay, like to contradict that a little bit, I do think it's cool that they did not know. You know, like they didn't know who Dracula was. It was just like, oh my gosh, there's a monster on this ship.
Yeah.
We have they're not like, oh, get the crucifix, get the garlic, get all this stuff, bring him out into the sun. You know, they don't have those like ideas yet. Because they don't know it's Dracula.
Yeah.
They're just like, there's this thing sucking out blood at night, picking us off one by one, and we got to figure out how to defeat this thing. And so I thought that concept was cool. It would be like, it's like, it really felt like the origin of the Dracula we know. You know?
I would agree, yeah.
Like this immortal being that you're just like, he's hungry, and he has no weakness, but we're gonna try to kill him anyways. You know?
Yeah, I mean, I was just like, that part was cool, but also it just took them forever to realize that like something was happening aboard. They're like, people are dying, and it's the doctor's fault.
Yeah.
I'm gonna blame the doctor, even though he has nothing to do with anything.
Yeah. And then, like, one thing that I was like was really not played as much as it should have been was, so there's this girl that was in one of the crates, and basically she was in the crate because she was like Dracula's lunchbox. So like whenever he would wake up, he have a little bit of blood there and go back to sleep because some tasty little Kool-Aid. And she is brought out of the crate and brought back to semi-health by the doctor. And what was the doctor's name? It was like...
Oh, let me look this up quick.
They all had kind of like strange names. But she was brought to health, and then they were suspicious of her at first. But like the whole like weird... It's like when you're in a fraternity or like something like that, and they're all like... Or like a football team, you're like...
Clemens was the doctor's name.
Clemens, yes. Clement Pie. I don't know what that is. But yeah, so basically there's like all of these rules, like, oh, like on a football game, you're like, oh, you got to hit the rooftop, like hit the door frame of every door you walk through so your team will win. So kind of like those like weird ritual things that they're like, oh, a girl can't be on the boat. And if there is, it's bad luck. And that's like the only kind of preface they have. I would have more suspicions about this girl is my only thing. I feel like that
if
died out
people started
quick.
dying,
yeah,
I would either blame the girl or the doctor. Like,
exactly.
Those are the two people that haven't been on board with like all these other guys for like 10 years or whatever.
And like when someone brought it up, they were like, well, the girl we don't know her. Like somebody's dead and she's new. And then the doctor's like, oh, I was with her all night. We don't even know you.
Yeah.
Like we don't really trust, but they kind of just like were really quick to trust them. I feel like it would have been cool to see the mental breakdown more of these people, like where they're going at it. Like Dracula has made them fight themselves more than fight him.
Yeah.
But yeah, those are kind of my thoughts. I would have liked to see that played out more, like their mental breakdown, like they actually start like seeing him, but it's not him. And like they start getting fearful and they start like blaming. And you see that one time with the captain where he like pulls the gun out and has like a mental like episode. You know what I mean?
But I mean, that's after. I don't know if we should spoil this.
Yeah, well, we're going to spoil it anyways.
Okay, the grandson dies, and so the captain, who is the grandson's grandfather...
What?
Whoa.
Goodness.
He has, like, this mental breakdown and blames the doctor.
Yeah.
Even though they knew it was a monster at this point, and he was like, I'm going to pop you, like, in the head with this gun.
Yeah.
And then he doesn't.
And he doesn't. So I'm glad that he doesn't. That shows, like, good on him. But, like, at the same time, like, so there's this boy. And that was one thing. Since you brought up the child, like in a movie when, like a horror movie, especially when the characters are introduced and you're like, oh, he's going to die. Oh, he's not going to die. Oh, he's going to die. He's not. She's going to. I was like, the kid's not going to die. Like the kid's not gonna die. He's gonna make it all the way through. It was like the most
brutal death in the movie.
I know. Like he didn't just die. That boy got toasted. Like it was traumatizing. I think in the movie theater we both like jaw dropped and just looked at each other with just utter like disgust and amazement that they would actually show that. But
like straight up is just burning and then drowns.
Yeah.
Like it was brutal.
It was brutal. It was, and I get why they did it. They had to show, like they can't survive in the sun. They're affected by the Dracula gene. And now there's no like redeeming of that. There's nothing that they can do to fix it. And I like that. It definitely heightened the stakes.
Yeah.
Like, because the guy you didn't like, he dies. And you're like, oh, no. But you're like, okay, let's keep going. And then, another guy dies. And you're like, oh, I kind of liked him. And then the boy dies. And you're like, holy crap, Dracula's just a monster.
Like, he's just going to kill everyone. Yeah.
Yeah. Like there's like just nothing about this person that's right. But yeah, so like just that whole concept of him just being an utter brutal beast was pretty interesting.
What?
Yeah. So let's just go the entire time. We're kind of like on a crunch here. We're trying to do the pop review, which is going to be shorter episodes, but we had other things on the schedule. We'll scratch those 2 other things, and let's just finish our thoughts on the movie.
Okay.
Yeah. That's
sure.
what I was saying.
Where were we? Talking about all the different deaths.
Yeah, just being a beast and brutal.
Yeah. I mean,
yeah. What are your thoughts, like concept-wise, of the film? Like any other?
I mean, just like cinematography and like all that type of stuff. I think was amazing. Like,
yeah,
they did a very good job in like hiding him for like the first like half of the movie, which was very good like for like the horror element, and then like all like the establishing shots were beautiful.
Yeah.
Sound design was pretty good.
Yeah.
But I think the story overall could have used a little bit more work.
Right. And that's what you get. That's like the downfall of having a short story, like a chapter of a book extended into a full feature film. But I don't think the budget of this movie was very much, and they did not let that show. You know, like it definitely felt bigger budget than I believe it actually was.
I'll check what the budget is right now.
I mean, I heard it said before.
$45 million.
Yeah, that's crazy. I mean, because most
like
movies,
nothing.
Yeah, that's like, and honestly, it didn't do that well, which I'm kind of sad about.
48% on Rotten Tomatoes critic score, which I don't like the critics, but
yeah.
Wait, we're critics now.
No, we're the good guys. We are critics, but I critique everything. I just walk down like the friggin' street at GCU, and I'm like, that's not a cool outfit. That doesn't look good. So I'm just basically a living critic at this point. Yeah, and oh man, yeah. So I'm gonna try to pronounce the director's name, but I'm obviously gonna butcher it. But Andre Ovredal or something like that. Yeah. So he directed this movie, and I've seen one other movie that he's done, and it's called Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark. And I really like that movie. He's good at taking a small budget and making a good story out of it. Which it doesn't look small budget. And so I appreciate that. That just shows you care about the work you're doing. You know?
I haven't seen the Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark, but I've heard stuff about it, and I heard it was not that good. But
really?
Yeah.
But
I have only... Like, I heard that from, like, 2 people that saw it together.
Those 2 people are lying to you.
Okay, I guess we'll have to watch it then.
It was coercion. They're like, we're going to lie to Ethan about this movie so he'll never see it.
Maybe. Because I didn't see the movie. Because they told me it was bad.
Dude, you let them win, dude.
I did.
Oh, my gosh. You let the critics win. But, yeah, so to wrap it up, my final thoughts on the film. All right, these are my final thoughts.
Okay.
Here they are. Are you ready?
I'm so ready.
Okay.
I thought you were just going to go.
I was planning on it, but then I forgot what my final thought was. And I was I'm extending this.
All right, final thoughts.
All right, here they are. I really like the movie. I do. I hate that it's not doing that well because I think lower budget films that look this good, that have this much heart in them, like you could have not put heart into this film. You could have just made it, it's a Dracula slasher. And then, but they put actual heart into the characters. The characters grew throughout. Like, these are the kind of films that I want to see. We have so much just copy and paste in Hollywood right now. And you're like, wait, how much did this movie cost? Oh, $400 million, and it's terrible.
Yep.
Like, that, as a film major, irks me. Just care. Just care about the movie. Care about the project you're given, and do a good job with it. I would love for this to be not the only one made. I would love, because they ended it on a cliffhanger, so I would love to see it come back into some degree. You know what I mean?
I would love to see another one. I definitely think it was good enough to see another one.
Yeah, and to hint at what we were potentially going to talk about, the Dark Universe, I would love to see it extended to other horror characters done to this fashion, to this degree, because, Universal kind of bombed on the Dark Universe. But, you never know. You never know. Somebody else could pick it up. And from this movie, I think there is potential there. I would like to see more of this kind of Dracula and more of these kind of one niche stories, but done with love and care and actually do well.
Yeah.
But we'll see. So out of our rating system that we're going to actually introduce, but we won't go into detail with it. We're just going to say on the scale of it, if it either falls into like terrible, or pretty good, or amazing. What do you feel like?
Well, so we're posting the pop chart today, right?
We might post it today, but we're going to break it down next week.
Okay.
Yeah. So we have a pop chart. It's the pop chart, and it's going to break down our rating system for films with little details of what we think is what. And so that will be being posted on social media soon, so you guys will need to check that out. But as of right now, we don't want to go into too much detail of it until next week, until it's kind of released, and we'll break it down then. But I'll just make sound effects.
Amazing.
Yeah, or 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 yeah. What do you feel?
I don't know what any of those were supposed to mean, but Yahoo is the one I'm going to go for.
That wasn't even in the options. You just threw a curveball in there. So Yahoo.
Yahoo wasn't the most amazing film I've ever seen, but wasn't like...
What would be the noise for the most amazing film you've ever seen?
I would blow out every one of our listeners' eardrums.
Ooh, and start crying.
Yep.
Yeah. It'd be like a mental breakdown.
Yep.
That'd be an amazing movie. It'd be like Puss in Boots right there. That would be my reaction. But I liked it. I liked it more than you. That's for sure.
Yeah.
I did.
I think it is more on the meh side of Yahoo. But it's not like meh. It's definitely Yahoo.
This is like the rating system will be much more concrete than this.
So like 0 to 100, I would give it like 65, 70.
Okay. I would probably give it like 75, 80.
Okay.
More in the 80 range. I liked it. I would like to see more. And yeah, so this is kind of what the pop review will be. It will be talking about one specific movie, breaking it down, talking about if we liked it, if we didn't like it. We'll try to fit more stuff in as we go. This is kind of just like a practice run for it. But The Last Voyage of the Demeter, if you haven't seen it, definitely check it out. It's a good film. Also,
good time for sure.
Follow us on Instagram at
the Popcast GCU.
Yes, sir. Follow us there. Let us know what other movies that you might think are niche or people might not see. And we would love to do a podcast on those movies, a pop review on those movies as well. So, all right. Well, thank you guys for listening, and we'll see you next time.
Bye-bye.